overvalued. Okay, good morning. I see that there's one viewer on, so I'm assuming that it's Emerald. If it's not, if you could just say hi in the chat, let me know. Someone else is on besides Emerald. Just gonna wait a minute here to see if anyone else joins. Okay, thanks, Emerald. So that is you. All right, so you're the only one on. So why don't we do this? If you're gonna be driving, I can wait. I'm in no hurry here. If someone else joins, then maybe I'll start. So I'll keep an eye on the number of viewers here. But since it's just you, I'll wait. I think you said you had 40 minutes, and that was about 15 or 20 minutes ago. It doesn't show the timestamp on here, so I'm just trying to remember when I saw that. I think it was about 20 minutes ago. So you probably have about 20 minutes or so left in your drive. So I'm just going to hang out here. And like I said, if someone else joins, then I'll get going. But I can wait until you get home. Unless you want me to get on with the boring stuff, doing the economic calendar and whatnot. All right, looks like someone else has joined. Emerald's about 15 minutes away. All right. No, no, someone just dropped off. Yeah, I'll just wait here. Thought maybe someone else was on, but looks like they dropped off. I can start? All right. All right, let me switch on the calendar here. Okay, so upcoming economic calendar. Pretty big week this week, and it's going to be revolving around jobs data. We also have some kind of medium-sized stuff too that I'm looking at. So on Monday, we got factory orders. So that, I don't think that'll be a big mover, but it's just going to be important for the overall, especially considering what I see. The previous month it grew 2.8%, and now the forecast is for negative 2.6, so a drop in factory orders. So that's a pretty substantial drop, almost 5% in 1 month. So see how the market likes, if that comes in like that, see what the market thinks. Tuesday starts the ball rolling because we've got global composite PMI and services PMI. Now those are forecast to be pretty much right in line with last month, so that probably wouldn't be a big big shock, but you do have ISM services PMI, and that is supposed to slightly increase. And so that one, I'm wondering how the market will like, because that one's been the sticky one, services. So last month it was 51.8, and now they're calling for 52. So it's still remaining above that 50 level. So we'll see what they think. But also at the same time comes the JOLTS job openings. And the number's supposed to slightly decrease, 9.5 million down to 935. So little less job openings, which seems to be the trend. Less job openings, and there's more job quits or firings happening. So could be a trend starting to develop there. So that's why that's going to be really interesting. Wednesday, not a whole lot. Got like a lot of mortgage stuff and unit labor costs, but I think on Thursday you do have the 15 and 30-year mortgage rate, so that will be interesting. And then you got the usual jobless claims, but then Friday is non-farm payrolls, and so that'll be the big one, and all the hourly earnings, participation rate, and all that. So that's going to be the big one. And then you also have Michigan consumer sentiment. So the two labor points on Tuesday and Friday, I think, will be the big drivers of the market. And then there's some, like I said, some other medium stuff going on. So pretty impactful week. And then I think next week is, core inflation comes out next Tuesday, or the 12th. So that'll be the big one. But it'd be interesting to see how this employing non-farm payroll number comes out. All right, let me check to make sure. Yeah, no, it says 3 concurrent viewers. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. I thought it was just Emerald on, but now it looks like we got 3 people, so that's good. All right, so that's the data. So let's get on to the chart. I'm actually going to switch over here to the S&P. This is the futures contract. I got to drill down here. So, last week I said there's this running flat up here. And if I go down to 1 hour, that I only saw really 3 waves coming up, and it would have to end in 5 waves. And so I wanted to see what kind of a pattern they were making. And it looks to me like what they did is it was 3 ways up, and then they made this big leading diagonal, came up, and then it made a contracting flat. So you had 3 up, and then you had 1, 2, 3, and then straight up. So all in all, it's just a 3-wave pattern. So I think that's 1, and then they made this ABC, came down, and it was looking like they were going to come and take out this important low over here, but they didn't. They reversed it, and then Friday really shot it up. So it looks like they're making an ending diagonal. So I think that's 1, that's 2, and this is hard. It's either this is an expanding flat, I think. 1, 2, 3. But I don't think this wave up is done, because when I really drill in, I gotta go down to a 15-minute. Like it's getting really impulsive. Like there's a whole bunch of little intermediate waves going on here. So I don't see that this wave is complete. I think it still has to come and break the high again. And then I think this is 1, 2, and then this is like the C wave. So I think there's still more up for that, but that'll just be 3, because this is 1, that's 2, and then this is going to be 3 somewhere that'll end. Give you a 4, but then you're still going up for 5. So still more up, but we're getting really close to the end. Now we're also getting really close to that July high, which is really shocking to me, because it looks like they could from that October low, this could all be one wave, just straight up without any big correction, just a big impulse. And as I've been saying, if I go out to I gotta go out to the futures continuous contract here, go out to a daily. My whole thought is that, from, where are we here? Yeah, from the January high, we made that ABC. That was a three-wave correction. And then I've been always saying that this is three waves, and then this was three waves. And if they come up in five, then that's a 3, 3, 5. And I don't think that they'll break 4808. I think then, if that's a 3, 3, 5, that they will come all the way down. It won't have to necessarily break the low, but it's going to be a big drop. And then they could break it, but they'll come down, because then you'll have this 3, you'll have this 3, and then this will be a strong sell-off. And then this whole thing will be a 3, 3, 5 correction, and then you'll go up and break 4808. So I wanted to see how this wave played out, because I was hoping that they would do 5 waves and it would be something like that and break it like that, but it looks like they're just going to do it in one straight shot. So we'll have to see. I assume it's going to be in the next couple weeks, maybe even this week, that they'll break that 46.34, and then that's when, if you're long, that you really got to be mindful that this whole thing is either going to correct and then go back up, and then we're in a major bull market, which I don't know. I have a hard time seeing that. But if this thing is all just the first wave, and then it's going to correct for 2 and then go up for 3, 4, and 5, then yeah, then the people that are calling for 4,800 to 5,000 are going to be right. But I'm still thinking that they could send this down one more time. Not necessarily, like I said, to break the low, but get pretty dang close before they go and take out the highs. All right, so that's the ES. So now let's switch over to the Nasdaq. Oh shoot, I'm sorry, I didn't switch the chart over. Yeah, thanks, Emerald. Can't see your chart. Staldic. Yeah, I forgot to switch it over. Well, let's just do a really quick recap. So this ABC, I think that could be A. And, oops, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong chart. Let me go out to the futures contract, the continuous contract. All right. So I think, now TradingView is crashing on me. All right. Okay. So from the July high, the January 22 high, we hit that ABC. I think this is going to just be ending up to be a 3-wave correction. So I think they have to break 46.34, give you 3 waves. But then after they do that, one more down. Not necessarily to break that October low, but it's going to be a 5-wave impulse and then back up. So that's what I'm looking at. But either way, once we do break this, I mean, there has to be a correction. Even if they're going to go and take out the 48 high, you're going to have to get a deep correction. I don't think they're going to go straight up to break 48 in a straight line. It'll be a 5-wave if they do, and then you get a correction and still more up. So we're getting close, I think, to it's either this is going to be the first of 5, or that's ending this whole correction. But I think pretty soon the high is in for the whole market. It'll be not just the ES or the S&P. And so then when we look at the Nasdaq, now the Nasdaq, they came really close last week to taking out their July high, and then they had a much bigger pullback than the S&P. So to me, this looked like 5 waves here. And then there was this correction. But the thing is that it only went up in 3 waves. So either this wasn't a leading diagonal like I thought, or this is an expanding flat. But this, to me, coming down, that only looks like 3 waves. So the Nasdaq is a little confusing for me right now. Now, it could be that this is like a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. No, that doesn't even make any sense. I was thinking like maybe this is a leading, but this low came and broke that. What I would consider the 2. So that doesn't make any sense either. So the Nasdaq is it's a little confusing right now, unless there's a contracting flat in here, and like all of this was the correction, and that low just didn't come down normal. Like it should have come down to here. Then that would make sense, because then this would be the leading diagonal. This would be your ABC, and then straight up. So that actually does look more likely then that they made a contracting flat in there. So then that tells me that all of this is just the 1. They're gonna create an ending diagonal. So that's 1. And then this 3 wave, that was 2. And then just like on the S&P, when I drill in, they're making like a whole bunch of, I gotta really drill in here. Oops. They're making like a whole bunch of like little 1, 2. It's gonna be like a big massive impulse, because I got this running flat here, 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. So all of that was 1 wave. And then you had this 1, 2, that's 3. Came down, that's 4, and so now this should just continue to push up for the 5th wave. And then you still got this piece over here. So there's another 1, 2. So like I think they're creating like a really big impulse, which they need to do, because you've got this 1, 2, and so you need to get 3 like pushing way up here, 3, 4, 5, correct, and then still go up for the 3rd wave. So nothing but upside for the Nasdaq, and I think they're just creating a really big. They're inside the 3rd wave, and it's just going to be really impulsing a lot. So more up on both of those, and then when I slide over to the Russell, okay, I'm just looking, I've got two viewers, and Emerald saying we're seeing signs of deflation, and tech doesn't like deflation. I am expecting a sell-off on the Nasdaq in January. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the whole market is reaching a point, not quite there yet, but reaching that point where either a big correction is going to come, or like a really big drop is coming. So kind of an interesting time here. So looking at the Russell, I do see they're getting close to 5 waves, because I think this is coming up in a diagonal format. So the 3 waves, that was for 1, then 3 for 2, and this 3 wave for 3. Here's a 3 wave for 4, a little contracting flat for 4. And now this looks like they're just making like small 1, 2, 3, and then here's a small 1, 2, 3, and here's a 1, 2, 3. So it looks like this whole piece is like a leading diagonal. And so I would expect like a correction and still one more up, because I don't think that this fifth wave is in, which would match exactly what I see on S&P and Nasdaq. That there still has to be more up in all of those. So this would all be creating a leading diagonal, and then there should be a pretty big correction coming. And so the Russell, obviously was doing the best last week compared to the S&P, but there's still, I think, the chance that it goes down because of this pattern here, this ABC, W, here's X, triangle X, and then this was a Y wave. And so I think you could get this 1, 2, 3 wave move, and then still one more down. And I think if the market sells off like I think it will, then this wave will coincide when that happens. But for the time being, definitely still more upside on the Russell, because they got to first complete this 5 wave move and then give a correction and then still one more up. So, but just like the other markets, if you're not already in the Russell, buying up here I think is just really dangerous. I mean, at any moment you can get that corrective move down before they resume. So I'd be waiting for the correction to happen if you're not already in. Okay, so let's see. All right, no comments, good. And so I just want to look also at one more, that chart that I saw. I actually saw this chart on the TV, Dow Jones. Actually, not the Dow Jones Industrial, just the Dow. And I thought this chart looked really interesting on TV. I never trade the Dow, but when I go out to the daily, I found this to be very interesting, this pattern. So from the COVID low, they had that big push up, correction, and then it pushed up to last April of 22 and just broke the high from May of 21, just barely. So that's just a 1, 2, 3. And then this came down, and I see just 3 waves here, 1, 2, and 3. So if I look, the only question I have now is that's 3 and that's 3. I'm almost wondering if the Dow could possibly come up in 5 waves, because that'd be a 3, 3, 5, and then they crash. Now the only other pattern really that I see is that this 3 wave move here, 1, 2, 3, that's one wave. This might just be the A wave, and then they're creating like a B wave, and then they're still going to come down one more time before they go up. So if that's going to happen, then if this is 3 waves and this is 3 waves, then this would have to start being 5 waves. And to me, I don't quite see that yet. So I find this chart to be interesting because it looks like there's a whole lot more up for the Dow. Because all this looks like is just 3 waves here. Then this actually looks like 5 to there. So this must be like a little contracting flat to there. So 1, 2, 3. And then they did this little 1, 2, 3. But then they went and they broke that. So this all looks just very corrective. like they need to go up one more time, somewhere close to like this 60 level. And then this all be just a 1, 2, 3 wave and down. So it looks like the Dow would have like a lot more to go. And then when I really zoom in on this chart, it looks like they are creating like a big running, a big impulse here. So here's 1, 2, and I think this is 3, made like this little expanding flat for 4. And now they're in the fifth wave, but they're not done, because obviously here's 1, here's 2. At most that's 3, and this is going to be 4, and there's still 5. But then you still have this earlier piece. That's 1 and 2. So this is all just a third wave. So, and that's exactly what I would want to see for the Dow, because the Dow needs to like push up at least up into like 58 to 60. So I think this is just getting going, which is kind of interesting to me, because I look at the S&P and Nasdaq and Russell, and like they're getting close, I think, to their top, but it looks like the Dow still has, what would that be? From like right here, let's say they go up to 59. Yeah, they got like still 12% to go. So the Dow, if you trade it, yeah, it looks like you still have quite a bit to go. If they're still gonna, like if this is just gonna be an A, B, and they're going up for the C, and then it's gonna reverse one more time. So the Dow is very interesting. It definitely looks very bullish, and they've got quite a ways to go. So I just wanted to show that. I never trade the Dow. I never even look at it, but I saw it on TV, and this pattern just looked very interesting. Okay. I'm looking at the comments now. Emerald, is 1880 the level to watch on the Russell still? Let me go back. 1880. Yeah, I mean, they're right there. I mean, they're right at that 1860. Well, I had it like 1862 and change. I thought that's what they would be targeting before they reverse, but that's what they're targeting just for the initial impulse. So based on where they are right now, I mean, I got to see how, I think 1880 might be like just where they terminate just this first impulse, or thereabouts, and then you'll get a correction, and then still one more up. So if you're a short-term trader, I wouldn't be buying here, and I wouldn't be selling yet either. I still think this fifth wave has to go up more. But after you get some type of a pullback on the Russell, I don't think it'll be a big pullback. I think it's just going to be a kind of a shallow 3 wave, and then one more up, and then I think that'll be the time that the S&P and Nasdaq really start to push down, and then I think the Russell will sell off too. So we got to wait and see. Just market's at a kind of not precarious, but just an interesting area in the next couple of weeks. I think these impulses are going to be ending in the next couple of weeks, and then I think the Russell has to correct and one more up, but I don't know if that the S&P and Nasdaq will correct. I think they're going to break their July highs, and then, like I said, I think there's a big pullback coming. Let me go back to comments here. And one would think the Russell should outperform in 24 since the small caps are interest rate sensitive. I mean, if the interest rates are starting to fall, and then we'll be looking at the 2 and 10 year, because the key level was broke on that 2 year. So if the rates do fall, I mean, the Russell could definitely outperform. I will admit that most can see the Russell go as high as 22. However, not however no one, none of them see it go to all-time high. No, I don't see it go to the all-time high like I showed in the I think it was last week. From right where we are right now to the all-time high is 32%. I mean, and if the Russell is going to go up 32%, I mean the S&P and Nasdaq are going to go at least 30% higher, which would just, I mean, the S&P then would be, I don't know, what would that be, 5,500? Let's see where they are right now. Let's say they only go up 20%. Yeah, I mean, even if the S&P just goes up 15%, that's at 5,300. I mean, I can't see the market doing that. So no, the Russell, I don't see them going to all-time highs anytime soon. I mean, they will, because this is all correction. But I do believe that this very could be WXY, going to make an X wave, but still come down one more for the Z, and then go take out their high. But I mean, the Russell is just so far away from their high that the whole market would have to just go berserk for the Russell to take out its high. But who knows? I mean, anything's possible. Let me see. I saw, I think, one more question. I found an interesting theory out there. Some claim the market crash happened in March of 2020. Then we had the bear 22, and then we just had the 10% market, and now we're poised to resume the bull market. Yeah, oh yeah, you're always gonna. I mean, the other day I remember I didn't watch the video, YouTube video, but it's some guy. I forgot his name. He's I've heard his name before. I think he's kind of a semi well-known guy, market analyst. I don't even know if he's a market analyst, just maybe his own, touts his own own style of trading or whatever. But I think he was calling for the S&P to go to 7,000. Like now if the Russell's going to go break its high, then yeah, then I definitely would have to agree that the S&P is going to go to 7,000. So you're always going to have people with outlandish points of view and whatnot. I don't know. It just seems like the Fed would have had to thread the needle so perfectly on creating a soft landing for us to put $9 trillion on the balance sheet of the Fed, and for them to be able to masterfully just execute perfect to get us into soft landing. Or it would be I think it'd be like a no landing. I mean, 2022 wasn't. I mean, it was a correction, but as far as corrections go, there's been a lot bigger ones in the past. So it just seems like it'd be just incredible that the Fed did this perfectly, and that the low is in, and yeah, we're off to 5, 6, 7,000 on the S&P or whatever. All right, so let me just wanted to go to, let me switch over here. Go to the 2-year here. So if you've been following me, I've been thinking that this fifth wave, let me go out to a daily, US 2-year, that there was this 5-wave move, and I thought that because they were coming up in 3 waves, each of these has been 3 waves, so you could pretty clear here, 1, 2, 3 for the first wave, and then here's 1, 2, 3 for 2. So I thought that was 3, this was 4, and then to me this whole thing looked like a diagonal. And so I thought this was 1, 2, 3, 1. I thought that was 2, 3, 4, 5. Thought that was leading diagonal. I thought this was all going to be correction and then still one more up on the 2-year. But they just broke that 4 low on Friday. So that tells me that I'm wrong, that this right here had to be, this must have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correction and then up. So 1, 1, 2, 3. So the 5 waves are in, and now this whole thing from the low needs to correct, because it looks to me like this is 1, 2, 3, and then you had this ABC 1, 2, 3 down to there. So that's 3 up, 3 down, and then here's 5. So I think that is just going to be the first wave. Yeah, so it would tell me that they're going to, if they're going to continue going up, it'd be up in a diagonal. Or that could be all the correction, but I don't know what they're correcting. I mean, like, are we going back down to 0%? So I don't think that that's going to, I think that's just the first wave. And so now I expect them to at least come down to like 404 or down to like 328, and that would be at a minimum. So if this is a 335, it, and that's 1, at minimum it would come down to here. Now it could come down, much lower into the 2s for 2, and then go back up and take out the high. That won't happen for probably years, but so I can take off this invalidation point now because that's no longer needed. So now that we know that correction is in, so when I drill in now, it looks to me like they're making a leading diagonal here, because I got 1, 2, and then this was all ending diagonal. So 1, 2, 3. And I think that's the first wave. That was 2. Then you got this big 1, 2, 3. I think that's 3. And I don't even know if the 3 is in yet, but at some point, then you're going to come up in 3 waves for 4, and then go back down for 5. So I think for the 2-year, this third wave is nearing completion, and then you're going to go up and get a 4, and then still down for 5. So a lot more, and then that'll just all be a leading diagonal, and then you get a correction, and then still up. So I think for the 2-year, since we're at like 4.5, like that's a pretty big kind of round number. I think that the 2-year will be trading in this range for a while, because I think they got to come up for the 4, so maybe they'll come up back to like 4.8 or so, and then they'll come back down, break that 3 low wherever that ends. So maybe get into like 4.4 range, and then they'll correct up, and then they're still going to come back down. So it's just going to be in this 4.4 to 4.8 range or so, something like that, and that's going to be quite a long time, I would think, months. But definitely more down on the 2-year, and so the 10-year, I knew it broke its low a long time ago. So looks to me like they're creating a running flat here. So they had 5 waves down to here, and I think then they corrected. So I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then now they're in 5, and it doesn't look quite done yet, because when I drill in, not that it really matters a whole lot, but all I see really is like a 1, 2, and a 3. So, it needs to be a 4 and a 5. So, little correction and down, but just like the 2-year, I see 5 waves coming, ending pretty soon. So, just like on the 2 years getting close to that 4.5, on the 10-year, 4.15 maybe they'll kind of be getting around to, but then that should be ending this 5-wave move down, get a correction, and then still more downside. So the twos and the tens I think are nearing their bottom, and then they'll be correcting up. And so when these twos and tens start correcting up, that's definitely, I think, going to put a strain on the market. So that could be when the market then starts selling off, kind of conjunction with that. All right, let me see the comments here. If you look back at the great financial crisis, I think they started cutting rates in 2005, and the financial sector was at all-time high in 7 by the time the banks started failing. That would give us another 2 years full of bull market. And that's exactly what the Benner cycle is pointing towards. Yeah, I don't know what the Benner cycle, I never even heard of that. I'll have to look that up and see what that's all about. So if you are saying give us another 2 years for a bull market, well, then obviously the Fed has to do a perfect job. Unemployment has to slowly increase, not too drastic. Economy just has to keep chugging along, and then in 2 years, then the S&P is going to be well above 4,800, probably be in the 5,000s, and the Russell will be nearing its high, and we'll see. It just from the pattern perspective, if I go back, actually I got to go out to the continuous chart, because then that means, if I have to go out to a weekly chart here, then that means, because when I count from like way back, I got 5 waves up to there, and so that would mean then this 1, 2, 3 is all the correction. So like from, what is that? Yeah, from the financial crisis, I got 5 waves. Oh, actually, yeah, well, I can't even go back before 97. This is probably like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that was it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so it'd be actually from way back here. That would be all the correction. That's a really shallow correction. But if they're going to continue to push, yeah, then they will be reaching 5. Like if it's going to be like a big 1, 2, and then they break 48, then they'll go to 5,000, like big 1, 2, 3. Then I expect a big 1, 2, 3, and then continue on up. Like they'll be going up in a diagonal. But what would have to happen is this wave would have to break, correct, and then still go up. So we'll know once they do break the July high, and then they give the correction. Well, if they give a correction, and then they go back up and break whatever high that they set in the next couple weeks, then I think you're right. Then I think we're in a bull market for the next, until they break 4,800, and I would assume that they'll be pushing into the 49 or 5,000 range. So, yeah, in a couple weeks, it's either going to correct and then resume, or possibility that they really push down. So we'll see. The lowest the analysts are calling for on the S&P in 24 is, wow, the 51. I don't know. Are you able to watch CNBC? I don't know if they carry that in Canada. That's where I watch. And like a lot of the like the bullest, the most bullish of analysts are calling for like 48 to, yeah, 51 is like the highest. But you're saying that's the lowest the analyst? Because the lowest, I mean, I've seen a lot of analysts come on and they're talking anywhere from 36 to 38 is the low, and then they see it going higher from there. The highest is closer to 58. Wow. I've not seen that range where the low the low for 24 is 51. I've seen definitely under 4. There was like 8 different banks. Huh. Well, I think we'll definitely know in the next month or so. Cuz like I said, this wave right here from that October low, that needs to just correct and go. Cuz if they push below that, then I think I'm right. Because then if they break that October low, then all this was, I think, is just, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then they're going to come down, you know, 36, 38, somewhere in there. But it'd be pretty aggressive. And I'll be honest, like right now, it's like I don't see anything in the markets or in the economy really that would make that would scare everyone that much that we're going to go from, let's say they get to 4,700 and then we sell off to 38. Like that's a pretty big drop. And I don't see anything that, you know, not unless inflation starts ticking up, and it's not. But, maybe in January it starts ticking up. Or, the like unemployment issue numbers start to get out of control. And I've seen some analysts come on TV and and they'll talk about unemployment. Like once that gets going, it's like a runaway train, and it just can't be stopped. Like you'll go from 4 to 4.5 to 5, like in a very straight line. And then obviously if that happens, then that would scare the market. So besides that, I don't, and besides some black swan event, another war or pandemic or something, you know, I don't, there's nothing super scary right now, but yeah, who knows? If the financial sector does well in 24, it could definitely help push the S&P higher. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, because like I said, I do see rates going lower. I think there's a big correction upwards coming because I think both the 2 and the 10 are nearing 5 waves down. So there should be pretty sizable correction upwards. But then when that correction, it will end, and then they're going to go back lower. So wherever we are on the 2s and 10s, we'll be going lower. Just a matter of how much lower once they break. So yeah, that will definitely be big for financial institutions. All right, let's move on. I do see one other viewer on. So if you have any questions, feel free to join in. But we will look at Emerald's favorite stock here. So Emerald, so I've been looking at this, and now you got those 2 key levels that are still in play, 112 and 80. Just made a really big correction, and so zooming in a 30-minute, it looks to me like you might be okay. Like so after this impulse up, I was worried that this is just a 1, 2, 3 wave. So that could be correction. And then they're going to come out and take 56, take it out. But the way they're coming down is corrective. So you've got down, correction, and then it looks to me like wait, no, yeah, it was 1, 2, 3. I think that's one, and then here was a contracting flat. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 5. So ending diagonal, and that's what you would want to see for you, because then that's just a like an A, a B, ending diagonal for C. And so hopefully that's all the correction. And then you did have that big spike on Thursday, just opening bells straight up, and then it spent the rest of the time correcting. So hopefully this is the start of this wave that's going to take out 112. So you got the impulse, ABC, and now you've got like a 1, here's 2, need a strong 3. Need a strong 3-way, because if it just comes up like 1, 2, 3 and then it starts reversing, that's not going to be looking good, because then maybe this is the start of a diagonal coming down. This ABC, that's 1, and then this will be an ABC for 2, and then if they come strong down, then it's probably going to be 3. You get a 4 and then you get a 5, and you're going the wrong way. So you really want to see next week this to explode up and real strong, so that 3, and then it's like 4, and then 5 is somewhere up here, so that you have another impulse, because then this will be 1, 2, and then this is just one of the third wave, and then you're in business, because then we zoom in here or zoom out, because then if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, they'll get somewhere up here for 5, let's say. Then that's probably just the first wave of the third wave. You'll correct, go up, correct, go up, and then all of that's the third wave, and then it's 1, 2, and then here's 3, 4, and 5, and then you'll be at your break-even point. So I think this is looking good. I'm sure it was kind of scary to watch it just kind of sell off all last week, but if this can really push up next week, get well above $1, then I think this is the start of the third wave, and then things should be looking really good for you. But obviously they got to break 112, because anything under 112, this could still be just all correction, and then they reverse it. So not until they get 112, take it out. You don't know, but like I said, if they give you a real strong up wave next week, then I think that's 1, 2, 3. Give it a little correction 4, but they should get really close to breaking that. If not break it, then so not out of the woods yet, but I do think it's looking okay. Let's go to the comments here. The sell-off you're expecting would be into the new year. I think the sell-off will, yeah, the timing wise it's tricky. I think for the rest of this year, the S&P and Nasdaq, I mean all the markets are going to go up and take out their July highs. Whether they do it just before the end of the year or in early January, I don't know. But just always based on people's enthusiasm for the Santa Claus rally. There's going to be a lot of buying, but if they all take out their July highs this week, I don't know. Then I don't know if it's going to continue into the end of the year. Because I remember last year, everyone was talking about oh, we're going to have the Santa Claus rally, and right at the end of December, the market just kept selling off, and then, just it was either, the last few days of December, or I think maybe even early January is when it started to push up higher then. So, you never know, but I would expect that this fifth wave is going to end, within the next 3 to 4 weeks. So I could see, if they do give a Santa Claus rally and it just kind of melts up for the rest of the year, I think in the beginning of the year, then, there's going to be a lot of apprehension, like, all right, now it's a new year and we just broke the July high, and you could get a lot of people just on edge, and just a lot of people wanting to take profit, and so you could get a sell off just starting like that. But who knows? I mean, there's a lot of ways it could play out. But I would expect that sometime in January is when either the correction or the sell off would start. Let's see. I'm so frustrated. They announced a partnership with NASA last week, and the stock tanked. Yeah, I didn't see that, but it just depends on what the details of that partnership are, and you know how long will the company realize profits and whatnot. So yeah, who knows? Like I said, you know the key levels to watch now. I mean, it's next week has to be a strong up move. So if they take out, what was that low here, 88. If they take that out, like even Monday or two, if they come back down and break that low, then it's not looking good, I gotta say, because then, unless they're really trying to create a big correction, because I see one, two, three, and then you had this impulse. And so, not unless this was like a little contracting flat, like here's a one, two, three, and then they went up. And if, so that could be like one, two, three, like three should have finished there, but maybe they made a contracting flat. So that's one, two, three, and now they're going to reverse it. So really, I think, if they break that low, 88, then I'd be unfortunate. I'd be thinking that they're pushing this in a diagonal format coming down. But if they can go back up and break 97, and do it real aggressively, give you a strong third wave, I think you're going to be okay. So, but next week you'll have your answer. They're going to do one of those two, break the low or give a strong third wave up. I can't see them just chopping in this super. It would have to be such a small range. I don't see that happening. They'll do one or the other. Well, I don't see why not. It looks like the market is now in a risk-on type of environment, and I think the small cap rate sensitive tech stocks index started to move up a bit. Yeah, for sure. It was announced on Thursday out of NASA. Yeah, but like I said, partnerships, especially for newer companies that, you know, I don't, I think they're not even. Um, I don't think this company is even profitable yet because they're not. When they reported earnings, they didn't even. They just gave a generic. Usually, I can click on this and it'll show the amount of earnings, but they didn't even do that. So I think like for companies that aren't profitable, they don't even like dig in, give you many details on it. So I don't think this company's even profitable yet. So it's an early stage company. And it takes time. But I mean, I having some type of relationship with NASA has to be a good thing. I mean, it's just a matter of time before they realize some benefits there. All right, I still see two people on, so if there's any other questions. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to go over. I think it was just the Dow was the big thing, because the Dow to me definitely looks like it's got more up, a lot more up, which is kind of interesting because I see limited up, still more up on the S&P and Nasdaq, but not as strong as what I see in the Dow. So Maybe I am gonna be wrong and the correction is done and S&P is gonna be at 5,000 next year. All right, any other questions, Emerald? Oh, hey, Emerald, I wanted to ask you, I always was curious. Is your last name Drywall or are you just in the construction business? Just curious. No, it isn't, unfortunately. They're doing a beta testing of their new software trial period of 6 months. They're doing it with it's hard for me sometimes to see the comments on here. YouTube covers it up with this little emoji thingy. With 10 S&P companies and NASA. Oh wow. Well, I mean it's beta testing, so as long as the testing goes well, that company could be set then if it goes well. Hopefully there's no setbacks. After the trial they will start monetizing it. Okay, yeah. Well, just like drug companies, I mean those trials are critical. You know, if it all goes well, you could really catch a high flyer, and if it goes bad, like who was it? Pfizer. I saw. I don't trade many pharmaceuticals, but Pfizer on Friday had a really bad day. One of their drugs, they gave up on it because like uh, 60% of the customer or clients were experiencing bad side effects, and so they just gave up on. I forgot what the drug it was even, but yeah, those kind of companies. I mean, as long as the testing goes well, you're going to be totally set. That's my company name. Oh, okay. I operate under Emerald Drywall. Ah, good. Oh, your name is Julian. Oh, I'm calling you Emerald. All right, Julian. What kind of company are you, or what field are you in? I started as a drywall. Oh, okay, drywall contractor, and now I switched to transport within the construction sector. I transport non-hazardous waste such as construction. Wow, well then you have a little bit of a pulse on the construction sector. Then you can kind of tell if how well construction, housing, and whatnot is doing. You have a little bit of a insight more than most people. Then oh, I got to remember to call you Julian from now on, or Julienne. Probably Julienne. I think you're French Canadian, so probably Julienne. Debris and delivery of construction materials to the job sites. Yeah, yeah, that's good. Yeah, you definitely have a better insight then. You can tell when demand is picking up or slowing down. Julian, so is it with the strong J, kind of like Americanizing it? Julian or Julian? Julian. Julie J Julian. So is it one? Is it Julian or two Julian? Kind of, I don't know what that would be. Zeus, almost like a Z. One or two. Alberta has the fastest growing housing market in Canada. Wow. I think I told you last week that my son is at Boise State University in Idaho. And during the pandemic, Boise, the town, was the fastest growing market in America because people, especially like a lot of people from California, like Los Angeles, the big populated cities, wanted to get away from people, so everyone was moving to Boise. And so my son's actually majoring in construction management at Boise, and he's just continues to run into people who are like, "Hey, do you need an intern job?" So it's still a high demand area. Julian, yes, haha. I wish I could hear you pronounce it. Julian. So is it just Julian? That's awesome. Did he buy a house and have his roommates pay for his mortgage while he's studying? He's actually he's actually living in a townhouse right now. He's a sophomore. He's living with four senior girls. So I find that pretty funny. But not he didn't buy a house. He's just running a townhouse. Yes, you're saying it right. All right, Julian. Julian. All right. Got to remember that. No more emerald. All right, so now it looks like we're down to just one viewer. So just you, Julian. Anything else you got? Want to look at here? I think I've covered everything I wanted. Oh, I did not look at the Argentinian market. No. What were those? What do you remember one of the tickers? I could do a quick look at it right now. Yeah, I forgot about those. Yeah, that could be really interesting. Yeah, do you have one of those tickers on hand? It's probably going to be more of a macro event rather than a technical one. Yeah. Oh yeah, ARGT. ARGT. Oh, ETF. Oh, good. I could actually trade this. All right, let's go out to a weekly. All right, so it started in March of 11. Wish I went back farther. All right, so just on this little piece of the chart, the low, just like everything, the low happened in pandemic. It'd be nice to know, like, if it started, like way down here and then went up, because then this is like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 3, 4, 1, 2, wait, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me drill in here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's got more up, but if I zoom back out, it looks like it's actually ending. I wish I knew what happened earlier. Because if this is 1, 2, 3, if this is 1, and then here's 3 for 2, and now this looks like they're doing 5. So that's a 3, 3, 5. Well, we don't know yet. As it stands right now, it's 3 up, 3 down, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're not done yet, but they're going to be finishing a 5th wave. Now this whole move up will be a leading, could be a leading diagonal. So if this is 1, that's 2, then this is all 1, the correct 2, and then go back up, and then that'll be 3. Or this is 3, 3, 5, and then this thing's coming all the way down. So yeah, so it kind of matches up with the stock market then, because I see this, it's got more up, so just like the S&P, Nasdaq, and Russell and everybody. So definitely has more up, because there's not a 5th wave yet. It looks like it's got at least one more up, but then that's 5 waves. So you got either a correction for up or total downside, which is kind of like exactly what I see in the stock market. Like I see 335, but just like in the stock market, this 5 could just be the first wave of something, and it's gonna continue on up. So the stock market could do the same thing. So yeah, interesting. What was the other one they showed? So I am not sure if the Elliott waves will apply. No, they will. I mean, Elliott waves, and just like the wave analysis that I do, I mean, Elliott wave, it's all based on human behavior, really. So the charts are just a reflection of human behavior. So when things get overbought, everyone's buying and buying and buying, and then it just gets overbought, and then you get a correction, and then that just gets reflected onto the chart as a corrective move. So it's just all based, so it doesn't matter what you're looking at. As long as humans are involved, human behavior is always going to be reflected on the charts. I actually think the money started rotating in tech, for example, instead of buying big tech microchips, they are rotating software and biotech also. You know that I kind of see that with big tech because when I look at, all right, so let's go to the Nasdaq. I got to drill down here. So well, no, the Nasdaq is reflecting it. So I still think there's more up in the Nasdaq. Obviously, go break that July high. But when I look at like Nvidia, like they had their earnings, so they had their earnings here in August and they sold off. And then they just recently had their earnings and it sold off. So like Nvidia to me looks like it's getting really weak. But I still see upside in tech in the Nasdaq. So like if I drill in, it looks like they could be making this like leading diagonal here because I got 3 waves here, and then there's 3, and then this looks like a big 1, 2, 3. So if they only come up in 3 waves, and then they fall back down in 3, then you're going to have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's in a correct and still, so like Nvidia looks like it could be getting really weak, which is exactly like what you're saying, that rotating, out of chips and into software and rotating to software and biotech. Yeah, so it's just interesting that you're saying that because that's kind of what I'm seeing. So even if I look at AMD now looks, this could be a big running flat here. So AMD actually, I think, looks like they have one more up. But yeah, Nvidia, it's looking really weak. The only thing that I can see is if this is 1, 2, 3, this was 3. This looks like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this looks like just 1, 2, 3. Unless this is a WX and then a big Y wave. And then they come blasting up. So, but Nvidia would have to really go up a lot. So yeah, so it is kind of interesting. But it also kind of makes sense to me. I mean, you just go out to a weekly chart on Nvidia. I mean, it's up, what, I think it's up 220% this year. So it's like people have got to be taking profit. I mean, like you think it's going to go up another 200% next year? I mean, like, so a lot of these big tech names are just so, people have made really good money, So, and that's where the human behavior stuff kind of comes in, that you got to be, you can't hold it forever. You got to take profit at some point. So yeah, NVIDIA is interesting because, like I said, that this 392 level is really important because if they break that, then the 5 waves is in. Otherwise, if this is just going to correct and go up, then NVIDIA is going to the moon because then this is just the first wave of the 5th wave, and that'll be 2, and then they're going up for a 3, 4, and still another 5 up. They're selling equities and buying more bonds. Yeah. If we can see where the money is going to flow, we can position ourselves and we'll be doing really well. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what the whole game is about. Where is big money going to rotate into next? It's always the hardest thing. That's why I do wave analysis, because that, these waves, they play out repeatedly over and over and over on any asset, whether it's stocks or bonds or commodities. It's the same patterns just playing out. And again, it just goes back to it's all based on human behavior. ARK is doing well. Yeah. Yeah, I think they said on TV, I think ARK was the leader last week. I think, or one of the leaders last week. And it should be. I mean, everything is obviously going up, and those beaten down names, some of them they can't get more beaten down. TMF. The 20-year. Yeah, I haven't looked at this. This thing's getting killed. Actually, just had to do a stock split. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this looks like it's really ready for a bounce, because it looks like 1, 2, oops, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and then this whole thing just looks like the waves are very small, so it looks like it's either like an ending diagonal, like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, like these corrections were really big over here, and now this is all small. So this to me looks like it's going to be 3, 3, 5 waves. So this is going to be getting a huge bounce coming soon. Is this the all-time low? Let's go to a weekly. Yeah, they're already at the low. So, and I see a 335. So I would assume that, this only starts at what, 2009. So it probably came from way down here, and now you're gonna have a 335 correction, and on a weekly you got huge, massive divergence. MACD and RSI huge. So this thing is way ready for a big bounce up. Looks like it's already started. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's already started, but I only see 3 waves. 1, 2, 3. So it's either correction and they still got one more down, or looks like it'll be going up in a diagonal. So I'd expect like a correction coming sometime soon, and then that correction will tell you whether they're going all the way down or reversing and going all the way back up, for starting a really big leading diagonal coming up. I wonder if it's time to start loading on longer time bonds. Yeah, looking at that chart, absolutely. I mean, either they got one more low in, or they're starting a big massive leading diagonal coming up. They did announce a reverse split. Yeah, it will bounce if the yields drop. Yep, and that's what I see. Like I said, I think the yields do have a correction upwards, but then there's going to be more down, and so the 20-year will definitely continue going higher when that happens. If you see below $4 on the 10-year, then this ETF should do really well. Yeah, it's a 3x leverage. Oh, plus it pays a monthly dividend. A monthly 5 cents. Oh, but it's only at $5. Wow, that's actually really good. That is actually really good. And it's a monthly dividend. Well, that's good. It's not quarterly. I gotta look into this. Yeah, pays. Is it 5 cents? 4.48, 3.5, 4.5 cents. 3. Yeah, it's about 3.5 to 5 cents. I I like that part of it. If it's paying a monthly dividend and it's leveraged, I will definitely keep an eye on this then. Thank you. And the carrying costs to what did that say? Oh, the carrying cost isn't too expensive. Isn't too expensive. What do you mean by that? The carrying cost? Usually for me, that's only a term I'm familiar with in the Forex world, carrying cost, but if this is an ETF, what do you mean by that? I do think the bottom is in unless we see another rate hike. Yeah, I can't imagine, well, who knows, but I can't imagine that they need to do a rate hike. I don't know why. Because I think you're getting to that point where if they do, they could tip the market, tip the economy then into a recession. And I don't think they need to do that now. Inflation's coming down enough. Carrying costs, I refer to the decay. Oh, okay. Yeah. The decay on Boyle is a killer as they switch contracts. Yep. Yeah, the leveraged ETFs. I've had to learn this the hard way. In case you don't know, like you want to only use those for short-term trades. So Boyle and cold. For natural gas, you could trade non-leveraged for natural gas like UNG because yeah, the time decay on those Boyles and ETF, Boyle and cold, yeah, the time decay is a killer. And I learned that the hard way. I thought it was just like anything else, even though it was leverage. I thought you could just buy and hold, and then I started realizing like I'd be buying at whatever $70, let's say, and then it would go against me, and then when natural gas or oil or something would come back to the same place that I got in, the ETF wouldn't be at 70. It would only be at like 67 or 68. I'd be like, hey, what the heck? Then I started understanding how they use options and futures contract and whatnot to create the leverage, and and then that time decay kicks in, and then it's like so yeah, I've learned that you can definitely use them. When you catch the trend the right way, you can definitely buy them and hold them for 4, 5, 6 days. But yeah, usually I just try to use those for short term, 2, 3 days, maybe 4 at the most, because yeah, not unless it's just a complete sell off or complete impulse up, the time decay is a killer. because of the dividend, it really helps against the decay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that. I mean, yeah, you don't get a dividend on boil and cold. Now you do. I don't think you do, right? No, but there are leveraged ETFs for like the S&P and the Nasdaq. So like the TQQQ and the SQQQ for the Nasdaq. You do get a dividend on. I don't know if you get it on both. I think it's. Oh, you do get a dividend. Yeah. So on the TQQ and the SQQ, you do get a dividend. So on that one, that's kind of nice that you can buy and hold those, even though there is time decay. But like you said, with the dividend, even though it's small, at least it's something, but this one I think it's quarterly, right? September and June, yeah. So and then the S&P has its own ETFs too, leveraged. But I don't think it's 3x. I think this one's only 2x, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't matter. But yeah, you do get a little dividend on this one too. So I like that. But yeah, not on boil or cold. And I don't think on the oil ETFs either you don't get a dividend. We need to find a good ETF within the healthcare sector to position ourselves for rotation into the sector. I do have one here. Yeah, the healthcare, it will catch a bid soon. But I do know that because of the election year next year, that it might have a hard time. Because I'm pretty sure that it's election years that healthcare doesn't do well. So if that remains true, I don't know, but they still might kind of struggle for at least the first half of next year. But it's been beaten up so much that eventually it's gonna reverse. I think it's showing signs of reversal. All right. Yeah, that was a very beaten down sector, so could be ready. All right, anything else, Julian? XBI? I've heard of that one. Spider Biotech. It's about to a weekly. Wow, yeah, that got killed. One, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gotta say, this looks like this is all 5 waves down. Like this is a running flat here. Oh wait, 1, Oh, that's 1, 2, 3. That's 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this actually looks like it corrected now. Looks like this is 5 waves. Correction and down. There's not real strong divergence on the weekly. That doesn't really matter, but so it does actually look like this is 3 waves. So like a little running flat here, 1, 2, 3. So the only question would be, is this going to do a 1, 2, 3, and still one more down, and then go? Because it's going to go back up to break its high, 174 or whatever. But yeah, I mean, buying down here, obviously, much better than up there. But like I said, the only question is this going to be just, because this is so impulsive, and it's not, there's not really strong divergence. This is on a weekly, but I could still see it just doing this, and then down, and then up. But, I mean, even if you buy here, right where it is right now, it should at least come up, 77, somewhere close to in the 90s. That's actually a pretty good play. I think I'm going to add this to my chart. Because that's, what is that? From right where it is now, even if it only comes up to like 91, that's 17%. Just getting to 91, it could come up and challenge that previous high from August, and that's 22%. Because I don't see how this would fall from where it is right now. Get rid of that. Unless somehow this is 5 waves. Doesn't look like it. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it just looks like 1, 2, 3. Because if that was 5, I could see that being a running flat then. But it looks like 3 waves, so that's just a correction then. And then they came down really aggressive. So yeah, even if it is gonna come down one more time, it looks like, drill in here. You got 1 and 2, and then you got 1 and 2, and then you got another 1 and 2, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That actually looks like a running flat. So 1, A, B, C. So that's 1, 2, 3. You need a 4 and a 5. Then you got to come back. Oh, well, yeah, this looks really good. They're creating a huge impulse here. There's a lot more upside. There's some corrections that have to happen because you got this 1 and 2, but then you got this 1 and 2. And this is all just the third wave, and then you're going to get a 4 and a 5. This is all the third, and this is 1 and 2. This will be 3 up here, correct 4, go back up for 5. So, yeah, this is... Thank you, sir. I definitely am going to be getting into this. Because it's, like I said, it should be going up at least to like 90. And could go up, and break... where's that high? 95. Could go up to 95 even. That looks really good. Are you in it already? XBI ETF, nice. I'll keep my eyes and ears open and relay the info as it comes in. I see a potential reverse head and shoulders. Yeah, well, I see a whole lot more upside. And if you're totally lucky and the low is in, I mean, buying here, once it does approach this 90 to 95 or, even 100, like if they push it, you just got to be mindful that this could be just A, B, this is a strong C, and then they're going to reverse it. So have to make a decision when it gets up here, but I mean, you got at least 15%, if not 20, 25% upside. And it, because it's impulsing, it should be a pretty quick one. Maybe a couple weeks. Like how long did this take? This started May 12 to August 10. So 2 months this happened, and then this started November 1. So yeah, so January 1, they could definitely be up here. This impulse, correction, and then boom, impulse in 2 months. If this is 2 months going up, and the big correction, 2 months would be January 1. So yeah, for the next 3 weeks, I mean, you could just see this pumping up. I like it. No, you're not in it? Okay, but I'm considering it. Well, I'm considering it too now. Yeah, that looks really good. I mean, you could just put a small position on that thing. Looks really good. When was the dividend? Oh, real small dividend. Not even a penny. Kind of a weird for March of 21, and then they didn't give another dividend until June of 23. Huh, wonder what happened. It was just not showing up on this chart. Because it looks like they were giving every 3 months back here in 21. Yeah, September.